What's interesting is today we're talking to a guy, I've never spoken to him, but he actually just got re-sentenced off of death row.
What?
Mm-hmm. That's who we're talking to today.
Interesting. So as you can see, we're back with Laura Brand, serial killer whisperer. And are we talking to two people today or one?
Yeah, so we have Junior, but Junior is just kind of like there for moral support. And then we have Scooter. So Scooter's the one who's been re-sentenced and is now off of death row.
So could he get out?
Yes. I don't know the whole story like you guys, so we're going to be interviewing him for the first time.
Okay, so is he going to share some of that with us?
Yeah, and I said, is anything off limits? He said no.
Okay.
Awesome. That'll be interesting.
So it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know anything like you guys either.
And they're calling in from Vacaville.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them in Vacaville. Interessante. Well, it's happening as we thought it would be.
Exactly.
You know.
I think there's a serial killer at my door.
There's a what?
It was my son. He knocks now and says, "FBI, open up."
That's hilarious. He's been listening to this podcast too long.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? He went to San Quentin when he was in the womb.
He called Ing a dumb dragon.
Whoa.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God, it's so scary.
It's so funny though.
I can't wait to read his book when he gets older.
Oh my God, imagine.
My mom's a serial killer whisperer.
Right? He's going to have a book so quick.
Yeah.
Are you guys there? Okay. Just speak up a little bit because, you're going through audio on my laptop to them. All right. So we have Junior back with us. And then we also have Scooter, who's brand new today. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to meet you both. Oh, Junior, we know Junior.
We know Junior.
But Scooter, nice to meet you, Scooter. Sorry, it's getting late over here.
All right. So, Scooter, nice to meet you. Laura's just been telling us some interesting information about your case, and we just heard that you're off of death row now. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was re-sentenced almost a year ago. So I'm no longer on death row. I'm a lifer.
Okay.
And is that with or without parole?
It's 46 to life. So eligibility for parole, given how long that I've been locked down, it's automatic. So I've already gone to the board one time.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Wow.
Say that last part again, Scooter. We got interrupted by the recording.
Oh, no, I said, I've been resentenced. It's a 46 to life sentence. And given how long I've been incarcerated, as soon as it went into effect, I was automatically eligible for parole, which I've already gone to the parole board once.
Wow. You were denied parole?
Yeah, they gave me a 3-year denial.
So you're not up again until another 3 years?
Actually, the way the process works is with a 3-year denial, you can request to go early, and that's usually around 18 months when you'll go. So I'll go somewhere maybe around May next year.
So you basically, when you first were convicted, you were given the death sentence. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was given death and a 7 to life sentence, and then something that was like another 100 years tacked on top of it.
So did you ever think something like this would ever have happened for you?
No, not until it did. I'm one of the guys who has been on death row for a long time, and for most of that time, I had the mindset that I was just going to die there. None of what's happening now was even a reality. It was death row, and it was meant to die there. And that was it.
Well, now that you're up for parole, do you have plans for what you want to do when you're out, if you get out?
I have ideas. It's difficult.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So there's like big ideas that I want to do. Those are things that might take years to do if I even ever achieve them. But as far as the immediate, what am I going to do? You have to make parole plans and present parole plans. And while living in a transitional home, I had to just do basic stuff like get a job and find housing and things like that. So having a particular goal is usually something more long-term when we get out.
What year were you incarcerated for this crime?
What year was I incarcerated?
Yes, on this stint.
January 1991.
Okay. It's a long time.
And it's been a long time, yes. The Berlin Wall is still standing.
Yeah. I was 3. That's wild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Teenager. It was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think this has happened now? Or like at least lasted within a year?
Okay, so as I was telling Laura earlier, what happened with my situation was we had this transfer program thing happen, and I came to a different prison from St. Quentin. And my attorneys were in the discussion with the district attorney from my county. They were trying to get me LWOP, life without possibility of parole, and still maintain some appeals. And what happened was that my district attorney from my county, he had stated a long time ago that he had a goal of getting everybody who's on death row from his county off of death row. So that was a big motivator for why this happened. The way it happened in my case was pretty unique, but it happened, and that's what's important.
Wow. Laura, do you think this is kind of going to set a precedent?
I think this is what Newsom is working towards, dismantling death row. He especially, I know he wants to make California more like Sweden, which is very focused on rehabilitation. So I think so, just from like what I've seen with Newsom's plans politically, wanting to put a university at San Quentin. But then, Trump wants to open Alcatraz back up. So,
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think so. I think he wants to make this more like, Sweden. And I think it's gearing towards more of rehabilitation. And really the question is, are we really ready for that? Or more so, are you guys ready for that? Because Scooter, we had somebody on the show, somebody you probably even know. He was sitting up here saying that he's up for resentencing and he wants to get out and start killing and murdering again the second he gets out. So I think there's a mixed bag of, inmates who truly want to get out and try to clean up their lives and do really good things. And then you have ones like, serial killer X who are just not going to stop. And I think that's a big problem that we have, especially like criminologists, forensic psychologists, is how do we, differentiate the two? How do we treat the two? And what are the measurements we take?
And also, we were just at Alcatraz for something else. And a gentleman who was in Alcatraz talked about how they originally were thinking that they were going to use Alcatraz as a rehabilitation center to rehabilitate the hardened criminals who were there. And he said it wasn't possible. So, Scooter, I mean, I don't know if I believe that. I think every human has the ability to be redempted and to be able to kind of atone for their ways and change. I do believe that. But Scooter, what do you think?
No, I think it's more than possible. The fact that I spent so long on death row, people who were there, you see the change that occurs over somebody who's been incarcerated over a very long period of time. We grow up, we get tired of all the crap that we did when we were younger, and the opportunity to change is there. Now, there are people here, some of the death row guys here, who have already started making that change. It's there. The big obstacle we had was we were a completely closed-in environment. So everywhere you looked, there was somebody on death row. So we didn't have anything to look up to or an example to see. Now that we transferred out of that place and we're in other prisons, we actually have other people we can look up and see. We see people who've been doing good things for a long period of time and trying to grow and change. So yeah, I do believe it's possible.
You know, Scooter, you had said you have like a lot of big ideas. If you got out, can you tell us about some of those? Maybe like some things, like some of those big ideas of things you want to do.
So I've been working on for a number of years now. I've been putting together an idea. I believe I don't like, personally, I don't like the public school system. I believe in private school. And I've been just designing my own type of private school that I would like to build and create. That obviously would take a lot of help from a lot of people and require a lot of money. But that's one thing that I was thinking of. As well as when I was in San Quentin, as a worker, I did a lot of work in helping a lot of the nurses. And I used to talk to them a lot about where they worked and the things that they did. And they gave me ideas for doing something similar, but in terms of potentially building or designing a type of hospital, but a hospital that's basically centralized around nurses. Today they build hospitals that are based on doctors, but doctors only show up and do something and then leave again. Nurses run hospitals, so other stuff like that.
Wow, so you have some pretty big ideas. Those are some pretty big ideas to tackle.
And it's interesting because both of them,
Those are not like immediate things that can be done.
it's interesting because both of them are of service to other people.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a question about your parole hearing that you had. Can you kind of walk us through what they asked you and why they denied you for parole?
Yeah. So when you first go, the first thing you go to what they call a psych review, comprehensive psych review, and you have a psychologist who sits down and basically goes over everything of your childhood.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Because you're in crime, and what you've done in prison, your rehabilitation, and they dig deep into questions of how you think about what happened, about what we did. And then when we go to the board basically repeats the process. They'll start with they ask about childhood, how did I grow up? How do I feel about the things that happened to me growing up and the different factors that I had that I feel are significant towards where I'm at now based upon where I grew up. If you have a mental health issue, they ask about mental health issues. And then they go into detailing crime, which is basically they ask you to walk them through the crime and tell them what happened. And when they do these, they have in front of them, they have computer screens. They have all the information that came out in your trial. And that's the information that they believe no matter what, even if it's not true or false or a little bit distorted, that's what they believe is true. Once they walk you through once they walk you through the crime, then they go into the prison history. They talk about the prison history, what has
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have 60 seconds remaining.
Taking groups, what sort of rehabilitation has been done, and that kind of stuff. And then they just go over a general review of basically everything. They put it all together. So the reason they denied me based upon two reasons. And one reason is that I had a mental health issue in which I was supposed to take medication. And when I was younger, when I was 17, 18 years old, I resisted that a whole bunch. And I didn't take my medication. And
You have 60 seconds remaining.
I didn't know how to deal with my issue. And that's what led to my crime. So years later, decades later, I take my medication faithfully now. And I've been part of the mental health program my entire time incarcerated. But when I was here, there was one time in which I came back from work late, and the officer gave me a choice to either go into the day room and wait until the nurse would come back a couple hours later, or go back to my cell, and it would count as a refusal. And at the time, there was some nefarious things that went on in the day room, so I was trying to avoid that because I didn't want to screw anything up.
Okay, I think we lost him.
Yeah, they're calling right back.
Yeah, call right back.
Can he talk a little bit about his crime?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
What I want to know is like the other thing. I want to stay in the parole thing.
You know what I do like that he just said? I will say. Let me just answer this. They're going over his childhood pretty extensively, even a time when he was 18 missing a medication,
Mhm.
being thorough, which I like to hear.
Yeah, but what I want him to talk about is if he had to do any sort of kind of, redemption statement about the victim's family, and if the victim's family, anybody were left, and what does he feel about that?
Well, Junior, now that we just have you on, not Scooter, why don't you tell us about over the years knowing Scooter, what he's like?
Well, in prison, there's a saying, don't trust no man. And it's, when we go over our childhood traumas or mistrust of people, that makes it even harder to form friendships in prison. But Scooter and his crime partner have been probably my best friends since I've been incarcerated. And we have been neighbors. We've been on the same yard together for almost 30 years. So I'm pretty close to Scooter. He's a pretty good guy. He's doing what he needs to do. He's doing what he should do. He's never been involved in stupid drug stuff, violent stuff, gang stuff. He's only just done his program. He's done schooling. He's a mentor now. He's done everything he can to, and he's doing stuff just like I am. On death row, a lot of people, there were 700 and something of us. And I'd say out of 700 and something of us, I'd say about 50 to 70 of us went to college and did college classes on our own in ourselves. So Scooter and me and his crime partner are some of the few guys that do stuff like that. And me and Scooter are like each other's fire, helping each other out and motivating each other. And the other day I was talking to Scooter on the yard and kind of walking me through the parole board stuff because I'm hoping that very soon I'm going to have that same opportunity. So I've been preparing myself in multiple different ways, going to different programs, not for parole board, but I was doing this stuff before, but now I'm realizing the stuff I've been doing is an advantage in parole board. So it's motivating to see Scooter do it, but it's also motivating to see that I'm accomplishing stuff and other people support me in doing it.
Okay, is that Scooter? Do we have him back?
He's coming back on.
Okay, well, that's interesting, Junior. That's interesting.
Hi, Scooter.
He's almost on.
He's almost on.
Actually, wait.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call.
All right.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Now we're all back.
Okay, Scooter, you back?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Listen,
Yeah, sorry about
say
that.
one
Phone
thing.
was.
what are you saying? Junior, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say
No.
yes, Scooter, something about rehabilitation stuff in here, and if you think change is possible. And I wanted to say something about that because I think change is possible for anybody, everybody, no matter whether you're in prison on death row or on the streets. But the problem is that there's not enough help for people to say, hold on, stay right here, let me talk to you, and actually focus on that person and what their traumas were growing up. Because a lot of guys are just lashing out. If you could slow them down and speak to them as a human being and give them help in that moment and help them find their way out of that trauma, I think rehabilitation is possible for anybody and everybody. But I think with the problems that's been existing for the last few decades, or maybe ever since CDCR has been birthed, is that CDCR has a fucked up policy of the guards union getting involved with prison policy and law. And what I mean about this is I don't fault them for this. I mean, I would probably do this myself if I was free job security. You promote job security, and when you promote job security, you're not necessarily promoting rehabilitation. And that's part the problem now is that California's trying to go into this California model, which is like the Norway, Germany, Sweden model, like Laura said. You get guard resistance because they don't believe in rehabilitation, they don't believe in job security. But actually, it would be much better for everybody, society, and everyone involved if people focus on actual healing and rehabilitation. That's all I want to say about that.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because we had just listened to this older inmate that was in Alcatraz. He's like in his 80s now, and he was speaking. And when he was talking about how they were trying to do, rehabilitation back in the day, like in the late 50s, early 60s, and then they realized that they don't want to do that because then that they had so much money back then to build prisons that they didn't want people to get better and they didn't want people to rehabilitate because they wanted to keep the prisons full.
Mm-hmm.
That's even back then. That you're talking like 60 years ago. So sounds like we're up against the same kind of model there. And then going back to you, Scooter, getting back to your parole thing. One of the things I wanted to ask you is in your parole, did you have to give any sort of statement about your victim or or their families?
You have to give what's called a victim impact statement. You have to talk about the impact of the crime and how it affected the victims and the community and everything else.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Okay, and then you actually gave a victim impact statement?
Yeah. They ask you to do a victim impact statement. They say talk about the impact of the crime, how it affected the victim, community, and anything else that one wants to express for this. And that it's one of the things where in here they have groups for victim impact, and it's very important to take those groups because they kind of teach you the language to talk about this kind of thing.
Yeah. Can you kind of summarize what you had to say?
Well, okay, so you have the obvious direct victims, the person who died. In my case, I have multiple people who I had that also were there at the crime. So they suffered they suffered the shock, trauma. They could have psychological problems. When it comes to in the future, you have holidays, like holidays, birthdays, Christmas and stuff, and the person who died is not there, they suffer from that. Some people are highly triggered. My crime occurred within their home. I actually entered the home, and what that does is they ended up losing their house because it became the murder house on the street. They had to sell it. What they sold was their American dream. They saved up everything to buy that house, and they lost it. They had to move. The family members got divorced, and the children had to bounce back and forth between family members. The whole shock of the entire crime upsets the community. Property value goes down. You have to deal with things like crime occurs inside your home. You can get a new home, and then you still have to deal with things like every time the doorbell rings or you hear a noise upstairs, it can upset people. It can trigger feelings of fear, and those are the types of things that they.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So how did you feel your impact statement? Do you feel it was both authentic and truthful for you?
So my first one that I made at my hearing, it was truthful and it was authentic, and they told me that. But the problem is it was not what I just told you. The things I just told you for a victim impact statement.
Yeah,
it's not what I said. I was very general. I wasn't prepared for the victim impact statement. I meant every word that I said, but it just did not come out like that. That's why I say we have to learn the language of victim impact.
yeah.
Is it possible for you to tell us a little bit about the crime so we can understand how that affected the victims?
So, in my situation, I had a co-defendant, but I leave him out of it. I just focus on what I did. There was an altercation between my girlfriend and another girl, and that girl and I had words. And what I ended up ultimately doing is I went to her home with the intention that I was going to tie her up and tie up the rest of the family and kill everybody one at a time and then kill her last. That was the plan. It didn't quite play out that way. I ended up in the house. There was 4.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
4 family members eventually showed up, and they were all tied up. One of the family members was killed. And so as far as the way this affects them, the surviving family members, is some of the things that I said. They lose their house. This all happened in their home. And they had to feel the terror of basically begging for their life and begging for their family's lives. So, in the long run, that's got to be some serious psychological damage. They lost their marriage. It all fell apart. I don't know all of the details of exactly what they went through because sometimes the victim impact don't know everything. I know that there was a lot of things having to do with holidays and birthdays that were used to be celebrated with the person who died, and now that person is not there, and you have to deal with that. There was also my victims. They were all from Taiwan, and they had family in Taiwan who was actually planning to come out here to the United States and move out here and help support them, in building the community there. And once they heard about the crime that occurred, the people who were in Taiwan, the family members, they said, no, we're not going to come out here. And I know that they lost a business. They had a business that they owned, and that there's this general trauma that goes along with being in this type of situation. I don't know exactly what things might bother them, but there's no doubt that there's little things that trigger them, little sounds, things that they see, things that they hear, and that kind of stuff. So.
And Scooter, how old were you when this happened?
I was 18.
18.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you're in your 50s now.
Yes. Officially, yes. I don't feel like it, but yes.
Hey, Scooter, you said you you didn't know what happened to the one who was killed. Was it your crime partner who did the killing?
No. I know what happened to him. He's in San Quentin right now, so he got the same.
No, but I'm
deal
saying,
that I did.
did you kill the victim, or did your partner kill the victim, or did you both kill the victim?
No, he did. He killed the victim, but the intention was that we were both going to kill people because there were so many people that were going to be there, and it's just the way it played out. He went first, but from a point of view of responsibility and culpability, it's no different from me. I'm just as responsible. The murder is mine.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Just because I didn't do actual killing.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Right. You didn't call for help, or you didn't try to get help and do anything to stop the murder.
No, I was part of the plan.
Right.
Well, Junior, you were while Scooter was on the other phone, we're trying to call back. Junior, Scooter was talking about how he's known you for 30 years and how he thinks you're a good person and that you could be could have some redemption there. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, I think it just hung up on him.
I'm a little embarrassed now.
Junior's just hung up. He should be calling right back.
Okay. Or anyway, well, yeah, you should. He was
singing your praises there.
He
right?
was singing.
He
your
was.
praises,
And Scooter, I mean, that's an interesting thing to discuss because you were very, very young. And from what you're saying, it doesn't sound like you actually killed anyone, but you were involved in the planning of this horrific event where the poor people suffered, and they suffered for their whole life. And you've been sitting there thinking about your life for the past how many years?
30 plus years
behind bars. So as far as how do you feel about redemption for yourself? I mean, what made you do that in the first place? Like, do you think that you're a different person now? I mean, we all grow up. We all do change. I mean, it seems quite extreme to go from like an argument your girlfriend had to that plan, but is there a reason how that happened?
And is he still on?
I think so. Yeah.
So a lot of it had to do with mental illness. How I grew up. There's factors in my life that are kind of depressing. I was abandoned at birth. As a baby, my birth mother abandoned me like 2 days after I was born.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to answer.
Sorry, Scooter, just 1 second.
Yeah. Scooter, you want to hang up and call back right now so I can get you both on the same time?
I think he's gone anyway. I think we lost them both.
I got them both. We're one of them.
Poor Laura, she can't even breathe.
I can hear you breathing.
I know, it's terrible. She has a cold.
Yeah. Oh, am I loud? I have like a really bad cold.
No, it just sounds terrible. You sound like you're
labor.
uncomfortable.
Summer colds suck.
Oh, they're the worst.
I mean, it's interesting because Newsom's doing exactly what we knew was going to happen when we were at San Quentin.
Yeah.
And so thinking that these people can be rehabilitated, is it possible? Like serial killer X, he's not, he said it straight up. I'll do it again.
Have you talked to him lately?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he going on the same track too, to resentencing?
Yeah, no, he's up for it.
Wow.
And he's looking good because he's a 1.
He's a 1?
He only has one victim.
Oh.
Wait, Junior wants to weigh in about that really quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me just get him on.
I mean, it's horrible. It's a tragedy for those victims. Their whole lives are destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they never can recover from that. How do you recover from that?
You don't do it.
You don't.
You can't.
You can't. I'm not saying people can't change and have
I mean, look, you and your cousin.
and be forgiven. I mean, ironically, we have a similar situation with cousins who did things.
Mm-hmm.
Same name too, which is weird.
Which is really weird.
And where you have the whole DNA,
which is it's sinned backwards if you spell that name backwards.
right? And it's really weird, right? And then we also have the Mayflower connection. But I don't think mine can ever change. Like
mine will never.
I don't think so. I just don't.
I mean, I'll check in with him in maybe like 40 years, but I'd be very surprised only because he's so vacant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Well, the thing is, like, then there's Larry, who on his deathbed, but I mean, that was on the deathbed.
Exactly. And that was after a long time of talking to you, though.
Every person is just so different. Everyone is their genetic makeup, our brains,
Right.
everything is just so different. So it's so unique.
It's not a cookie cutter.
I mean, you
approach.
have to have forgiveness in your heart. You can't live hardened heart. You know, you have to forgive, and you have to.
Yeah.
But it's not easy. I mean, I have another friend who's lost a family member to a horrific crime, and they can't. I mean, they just can't ever get over it.
Yeah.
Mm.
We also deal with it. These families on current cases.
Oh
that
yeah,
happen right now.
and it's so tragic. But then and you also don't want, like, if someone did do something because they were young and they had horrific growing up circumstances, or if it was an accident, like you don't want to not give that person forgiveness if they're trying.
I mean, both of you were 18, 19. I mean, I look at that, I'm like, oh my God, you're babies.
You're a baby. Like, how do you even know what you're doing at 18? Nobody knows what they're doing at 18.
Nobody. That's crazy to me. What do you guys think about that?
So I wanted to say something about serial killer Rex
Okay. Yeah, go with.
first, if I can.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to point out to all the listeners, first and foremost, that serial killer X has never been and was not on death row. And he has a mindset of his own, and I'll kind of explain his mindset. So just like with any trauma, maybe a woman who is young and has been abused and maybe has a boyfriend that abuses her, or a boyfriend that gets her involved in drugs or alcohol, and let's say she was pregnant. The trauma of the reality of having a baby snaps them back into reality, and they start changing their life. And what I'm pointing out is certain people, when they get sentenced, have that trauma where it snaps them into reality, like, holy shit, this really just happened. And you either go to prison with a cold heart, saying, fuck it, I'm never going to
This
get out.
call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I mean, whatever I want to do, I'm going to be a tough guy. I'm going to not care about nobody, and path. Or you go to prison and you start healing yourself and realizing and reflecting what you've been through, what you put other people through, and where you are now, and what you want to do with your life. And once you realize that, like Stephen, we want to get out and help people. And serial killer X has never had that trauma of realizing, oh shit, this is a life-altering moment. And serial killer X is like one of Laura's ex teddy bears, Larry Whittaker. So a lot of serial killers, they want to lash out. I've been around them for a long time, and every one of them I've seen lashes out. And serial killer X is no different than Larry Whittaker. They love using the law or officers to lash out. And what I mean by using officers is they have like a hatred towards them or maybe a love towards them, will use them to file 602 that they can then use to file lawsuits or whatever. But serial killer X, like I was saying, is not a death row inmate, was not a death row inmate, and he's just someone that likes lashing out like most serial killers do.
Okay. Interesting perspective.
Him and there's a big difference between someone like him and someone that's on my path.
I think what you're trying to say is because like Larry would file, because no one knows what a 602 is. Like Larry would file all those lawsuits against the prison. Like that was his way of lashing out. Is like they'll do instead of killing, they'll replace it with something.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Whatever. Yeah. Absolutely. And Larry was smart. He knew how to work the system.
Right. Exactly. They'll find other ways to like get
I
at
don't
you.
know if I've talked to you about this before, but I've noticed that a lot of rapists in prison, they lose what they do the rape for, the power, the control. So what they do is they use officers, and they'll snitch on another inmate because they now know, okay, I got
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
by using an officer going and searching that inmate, harassing that inmate. So there's a lot of psychologicalness in the games that inmates play if they're not on a rehabilitation course or if they're just in the mindset of lashing out because they've been hurt. They've been traumatized, so they want to inflict that trauma as much as they can and the stress, anxiety on anyone and everyone they can if they're not of the mindset of being themselves or realizing what they put themselves and other people through.
Yeah.
So, Scooter, I want to come back to you because now that we know more about your crime and the fact that you weren't the actual person who committed the murder, but you are an accomplice, and so the fact that the way you phrased it, that it's obvious that you understand that you being there was equally as bad as committing the murder. Is that correct? Did we lose him?
Let me check.
I think we lost him. You're about to lose me. The phone's going to reset.
All right,
I'm going to reset my
yeah. I'm going to cut it. Hopefully they'll call back.
Okay. All right. So interesting that this stuff is happening, and these resentencing guidelines are happening.
It's in the news, just like the dismantling of death row.
No one's covering this.
Mm-mm.
No one's covering it. But that guy, that one correctional officer that you reached out to, he's everywhere now.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, I've seen him on TikTok, so he's talking up a storm.
Oh, he's been talking.
I know, but now he's really talking.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen him on a few podcasts already.
Oh, wow.
So.
Sing a lot?
Yeah. Do you have his information? Have you contacted him?
I have his email and I have his Instagram, and we were trying to set up for him to get on here, but then I never heard back from him. That was by email. But I should message him because he's always watching our videos and commenting on them. Okay,
yeah. Let's see if we can get him on, because I'd love to hear his perspective on all this.
Me too. And I don't know if I can say his name on here. The head of San Quentin, who's now retired, he watches all our videos too. And I've asked him to come on as well.
Really?
He keeps saying maybe. Yeah, they both know him very well too. He was very respected on San Quentin's death row.
So have they did they comment on the videos?
Yeah, all the time.
Interesting.
Because I do I guess when I do the hashtag San Quentin.
Yeah.
Everybody yeah.
Mm-hmm. We were just talking about, I guess the head of San Quentin is retiring, so she's going to try to.
Oh, he's been retired, but yeah, I've been trying to get him on.
Yeah, and then also that correctional officer who was.
Yeah, I emailed him trying to.
I think it's really interesting because it's exactly what you predicted was going to happen, and it's really hard. It's a hard balancing act because on one hand, you're really feel for the victims and what happened to them and how they must feel knowing that the person that did this to them could be getting out of prison
and living their lives.
And then on the other hand, like, you want to have a forgiving heart and hope that these people can rehabilitate and redeem themselves in society.
Well,
Is it possible?
Personally, I think the victim's family should have much more power.
About that?
What were you saying? With Junior, what? Go ahead.
So I believe it was in Norway about 10 years, maybe 15 years ago. There was a guy that went to an island of a summer camp and just started killing all kinds of innocent children and camp counselors and stuff.
Yep, I remember that.
There was a big debate. There was a big debate in the news in America about what happened, but also about what his possible sentence was. And if I remember correctly, the maximum sentence that they could sentence this guy to was either 20 or 25 years and no longer. But the caveat to that was that every time he came up to the parole board at the end of that 20 or 25 years, that the parole board could give him a 5-year extension.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I believe in the death penalty. I believe there are some people in society that are unredeemable no matter what you do to them, no matter how much you rehabilitate them, they'll never, ever understand it, just like someone that we call Chucky. But I believe that if you give rehabilitation and change the system...
Hold on 1 second. Scooter's calling back.
Yeah.
Medical facility, Vacaville, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hey, Scooter.
Hey, we're just we're just letting Junior finish up. He was talking about how, in some aspects, for some people, he believes in the death penalty. So, Junior, why don't you finish up what you were saying?
About believing in the death penalty?
Well, no, Junior, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I was telling them that I believe there are certain cases or certain people where no matter how much rehabilitation you give them, there's no redemption for them. I believe that there are certain people that are worthy of the death penalty, but I believe that most people, if the system did what it was supposed to do and offer true rehabilitation, that a sentence like they have in Norway, where you get sentenced to 20 or 25 years as a maximum sentence, and every 5 years or every 3 years, you have a parole board, and if you've proven that you're rehabilitated, if you've proven your change, that they'll let you go. I believe California and every state in the United States should go to a model like this because the systems now are not healing anybody. They're not healing the victims. They're not healing society. And politicians, police, PAs, they use a lot of fear mongering. I'm sad to say it, but they do. And they do this because they want to get notched on their belt. They want to promote their careers, job security. But I don't think that we need to be doing that stuff to each other as humans. And when I went through my case, I was 19 years old, and I thought, okay, I'm arrested. The truth's going to come out. The truth may not set me free, but the truth is going to, sentence me or give me a punishment that I accordingly deserve to what I supposedly did, right? But the system goes so far out of whack and it accuses you and makes theories up that are harsher than what actually really happened, so they can get harsher sentences and prejudice the jury or prejudice society through the media to hate and vilify a lot of people that are just they're kids, 19, 18 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old, that have just been traumatized in their life, and they snap or they get in a bad situation, don't know how to handle it. And society would be better served if people start realizing that people need healing and we need each other to heal each other. Whether you're a victim or a perpetrator, we can give something to them and they can give something to us. And we can't just keep on going around making people fear and hate, because that's just continuing the cycle of more prison, give longer, harsher sentences. It's not doing nothing for nobody.
Yeah. How about you, Scooter? Do you believe that there are some people, I mean, you've been around these people, that do deserve the death penalty, or do you feel like that you shouldn't have the death penalty?
So I believe, from my experience in the death penalty, that there are. Well, let me say it to you like this. One of my attorneys used to give seminars for parole, and she used to ask people in these seminars. She'd say, if you go out there onto the yard, prison yard that you're on, and look around, who would you want to babysit your daughter? And most guys would say probably none of them. They wouldn't trust anybody. So when I was on death row, there is a handful of guys who just basically, I want to believe that everybody is redeemable, but I don't think it will happen with these guys. And if people probably should be in prison for the rest of their life. I don't believe in the death penalty anymore. I used to. So I just can't see the idea of giving somebody the death sentence now. It just doesn't work for me. The worst sentence should be life. And then I agree with what Junior said, that redemption should be made available to everybody, because the majority of guys who are in prison, they weren't born evil with the intention to do the things that they did to get to prison. It's part of the conditioning of how their life went, and that can be reversed and changed.
Interesting.
Very interesting how he said, who would you want, to watch your daughter? I mean, to look at her respect, because I was just thinking, I was like, who would I have watch my son? But that's really how we should be looking at it, because I mean, if you're going back into society, this is a person
call
who's
and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
going to be around children, and and who do we trust to be out there with them? That's actually, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's a really good question. It really puts it in perspective.
Yeah.
And Laura, you said something interesting. You said that the victims should have more power.
Oh, yes. No, I don't feel like victims get that much power in our justice system or the prison system. I feel like there should be, Junior, you've done this with the work with the victims. I think there should be, the meetings, and I think they should really have more power and control about the offender themselves too, and what happens with them, and if they feel safe enough for them getting out. I don't feel like it should just be left up to just prosecutors decide everything, or law enforcement. I mean, these are the people who are affected by the crime, and I feel like they should be the ones who have the power.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword though, because manipulation can come into factor too.
True. I'm not saying just total, sole responsibility on them. I'm saying, but they should have more say so. I mean, I know they come to parole boards and talk, but I don't think it holds too much weight from, the paroles that I've seen and heard of.
I agree with you. I think that the victims' families, especially if they're a victim of a crime that doesn't get solved, we've seen this time and time again, they don't have any power.
Right.
They don't have any power. They don't know what happened to their loved one, and they don't get answers.
The victims' families are usually powerless during the investigation as well.
Yeah.
Completely powerless. We experience that on a daily basis.
And I don't think it's law enforcement's fault. I think that it's the system. I don't blame law enforcement. I blame the way that the system works.
It's very true. It is. I mean, you can't have one detective and give him a stack of, 100 homicides. I mean, what is he supposed to do?
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, we've talked to so many detectives that are overwhelmed, don't have the resources, aren't given, anyone to help them, put in situations that they really shouldn't be in.
Yeah, and remember when I got called into the cold case unit and you guys came?
Yeah.
How many people were there?
None. And they were actually, the guys that were there were called out of retirement.
Right.
And were working
Yeah,
part-time.
they were retirees. That was it. It's crazy.
Yeah. It just needs to be restructured. And that's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, listen, Scooter and Junior, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing and being pretty open with us about your cases.
Laura, do you have something?
I do. Are you
No
guys still
problem.
there?
Yeah, they're still there.
Are you both still
I'm
there?
still here.
Scooter, you know what you said in the beginning
Yes, I'm
about
here.
the school wanting to develop a private school is like one of your big dreams.
Yeah.
Where does that stem from?
It comes from before I got arrested. What I wanted to do is I wanted to be an architect and an engineer, and I wanted to build big things. But I've been in prison so long that if I got out of prison right now, so I had to tweak my ideas of what I wanted and what interested me. I still like creating big things, but I would have to change it. And that on top of the things that is basically over the years what I've seen that's happened with public school, it's just they're falling apart. And I happen to go to a very bad public school too, so I can relate to it.
Oh wow! So you want to physically build them yourself?
Well, I mean, I would need people to help me.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's really interesting.
Oh,
You know, I can tell you guys. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna on what you guys were just talking about. I can relate that in my case because when I went to trial, 2 of my victims asked the district attorney not to pursue the death penalty on me, and the district attorney told them, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it." And then when they called them up for the penalty phase to ask them to come testify in the penalty phase, and told what the penalty phase was to decide whether or not I get life without or the death penalty, they refused to come because they were angry. And at that point, they stopped working with the prosecution. All these years, these 2, they never worked with the prosecution when my appeals come up. And they actually both ended up, when I went to parole, they wrote letters of support for me in terms of not wanting me on death row and thinking I should be out of prison. But like you guys said, they don't listen or pay attention to that very much.
Mm-hmm.
great place to end it.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing.
Do you guys have anything you
Thank
want to
you.
say
Thank you. Have a
before
good night.
signing off?
I want to
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I guess that's it.
something that went along the lines of what Scooter was just closing with, because I have something very interesting
You have 60 seconds remaining.
to do with that, but it's too long of a conversation. I'll do that for next time.
Okay.
Take care, guys. Have a good night.
All right. take
Thank
care.
you. That's interesting.
All right, good night.
Good night,
Good
guys.
night, Scooter.
Okay, they're off.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, the wheels are in motion in California.
Hmm.
Really
It's
emotional.
crazy.
I think we should. We should try to get that CO on and the guy from San Quentin on too.
Yeah, I think it's important to hear their perspectives
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
all that stuff because
No one's talking about it.
exactly.
Well, you know what's the problem is with San Quentin's death row. If for any of the viewers listening, is a lot of them are scared to do anything publicly, even a podcast. It's not their name, because a lot of these guys have to go into witness protection, go into hiding because
Mhm.
it's a very dangerous job for them. Then they can't talk about it while they're on active duty too.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
but if there is anybody out there who's retired who does want to speak, we can always, we don't have to use your name.
Yeah,
we can
and-
put you in silhouette too.
Exactly. We don't have to show your identity.
Right.
Because I think it's an important topic, and I think with everything that's going on in the world today, it's the system needs some rejiggering,
Yeah.
some changing. But,
Definitely.
all right, Laura.
Good to see you, Laura.
You too.
Better.
Feel better. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.